This is the Real Pod Newscast with Levon Putney with a quick check on what's going on. So here's my man to get into it.
Happy Tuesday. Thanks for listening. What was up with Lil Nas X? Yeah, let's get straight into this. Tidy whities and white boots. Charged with 4 felony counts. Now, I don't know if he was high on something, but it sure looked like it. LA cops say he was. Hope he's okay, though. In sports, Chinese Taipei won the Little League World Series. That's always fun to watch for a bit. And the U.S. Open continues this week in Queens. Of course, not the only thing continuing, because out west...
My favorite stories of the day.
The annual Burning Man art, music, and sort of new age hippie culture festival got started Sunday in Nevada's Black Rock Desert. A dust storm blew through on Saturday while folks were setting up their tents. 9 days, and KOLO 8 News Now in Reno is reporting a 48-year-old man headed to Burning Man was held up from getting there when he was arrested last Wednesday in Urington, south of Reno. That's where cops say they stopped his van and found he had 104 grams of crack cocaine, 6 grams of meth, ecstasy, magic mushrooms, 9 grams of Molly, about 10 grams of DMT, whatever that is, 3 grams of 2CB, LSD tabs, several vape pens cops think had the psychedelic 2CB drug in them, plus, wait, there's more. Different pills like Oxycodone, Vicodin, Valium, and Xanax. They say we're all packaged together for selling to a lot of Burning Man bros. If anyone was wondering why about 70,000 people are expected to spend 9 days in a desert about 100 miles north of Reno. And speaking of drugs out west, a 24-year-old man from Bozeman, Montana, is accused of being on some being Xanax, when Gallatin County Sheriff's deputies say they arrested him last Tuesday because they say somebody called 911 to report he was driving about 120 miles per hour on I-90 on 2 tires in a Toyota. Now, deputies did not explain how doing 120 on 2 tires in a Toyota is possible, unless that Toyota was a motorcycle, but KBZK TV7 is reporting when they caught up and found him parked off the highway, they say he told them he had about 10 drinks earlier, on top of that Xanax. And deputies say another witness told them the guy threw a bag in the trash. A lot of witnesses in Montana, and they say that bag had a pharmacy inside, methamphetamines, MDMA pills, magic shrooms, and LSD. Well, they don't think he was headed to Burning Man too, but he was headed to jail after that on drug and DUI charges. And speaking of speed demons out west, NBC's Tri-Cities nonstop local TV in Washington State is reporting cops stopped a 21-year-old woman last Monday morning in Kennewick. It's where a traffic officer reported watching her pass another car in a 35-mile-an-hour zone while clocked doing 74 miles an hour. And before the officer slapped cuffs on her for reckless driving, they say she told him she was actually headed to the courthouse to pay a speeding ticket she got 17 days prior. Somebody get this woman into a race car. Now to Florida for the next 2, starting with buddies out fishing who caught a shark the Saturday night before last on the barrier island of Cayo Costa, southwestern part of the Sunshine State. It's where the bros were posing for pictures with the 6-foot lemon shark on a beach, and one of them was standing over that shark between his legs while he held the shark's mouth open for his pose. And the shark kept its mouth open, posing too. And then shook loose and bit that dude in the leg, then shimmied its way on the sand back into the water. Well, don't know if it made it to the water or not. The video ended. USA Today posted that video in their story. The 48-year-old guy was airlifted to a hospital to get his leg patched up. And north of Cayo Costa in St. Petersburg last Monday, Fox 13 is reporting a 48-year-old woman was arrested. What's up with the 48-year-olds in that part of Florida? But cops say she was pretty drunk, so may not remember, but they say she got so upset over her neighbor parking near her yard that she went and put on a hot dog costume, grabbed a roll of toilet paper, and then went out and TP'd the neighbor's car, and then was leaning on the car while dressed up as Oscar Mayer. She was being a wiener. Cops didn't say if they took her in for the disorderly conduct and resisting arrest charge while in that hot dog costume, but it was not in her mugshot, sorry to say. Okay, so in Denham Springs, Louisiana, just east of Baton Rouge, cops nicknamed a 57-year-old guy the Beef Bandit because they say he went into a Walmart last Wednesday and stuffed over $400 worth of meat in his pants and walked out to his car twice, begging somebody to ask about the meat in his pants. Pause. But WAFB 9 in Baton Rouge is reporting when officers stopped him in his car, they say big packs of hamburger meat and ribeyes were riding shotgun in the passenger seat. They took pictures, posted them on their Facebook page, and said the trunk had plenty more packs of meat. It was a lot. I counted 21 packs in one of the pictures. And he had to be wearing cargo pants to fit that many in, or those hammer pants from the late 80s and 90s. And the serial butt sniffer must have gotten out on probation in Southern California. He's been caught outside sniffing booties again. NBC4 Los Angeles is reporting a Walgreens worker in Burbank called the cops last Friday night to say this guy was out in their parking lot getting a good whiff of some woman's rear end before running off, but the officers went to the drugstore and say they found him. Not far away, though, after talking with the woman. And the 38-year-old must like the way booties smell in Burbank because that's where he was just arrested in late July, sneaking around sniffing booties in a Nordstrom department store. Back in a moment, but before the break, a promo for the Jams podcast.
Blazing the best hip-hop, R&B, reggae, soca.
You can get the Jams podcast mix on Amazon Music, Audible, iHeart, Apple Podcasts, and Deezer. Download the podcast for free.
It's Jams Hour Mix with Greg H.
Time for a peaceful moment.
Oh! And what happened, sweetie? What happened?
Thank you for joining in this moment.
Your finger is frying with the fish.
Brought to you by the ASMR Network, where every sound is a turn on.
Oh, who's gonna finish cooking?
And now for the world around us.
There was this cow, a huge cow, got stuck in a canal while taking a dip to cool in North Walsham, England. And Norfolk Fire and Rescue posted video on the Facebook page showing 4 firefighters tugging on a rope they tied around the cow to pull it out, while looks like a 5th firefighter was trying to feed it from a bucket. I guess he figured since it was that big, it must have been hungry. UPI is reporting the cow did eventually rejoin the herd after they pulled her out. No thanks to whoever was shooting the video they posted. And as long as we're on animals, paleontologists in Australia announced last week that a 25-million-year-old fossil, so the fossil used to be an animal, but the fossil washed up on a beach down under and has now been identified as a species that they think evolved into whales. Yeah, the Associated Press is reporting the researchers described it as much smaller, small enough to fit in a single bed, and with bulging eyes the size of tennis balls. And they hope this will teach us more about whales, at least as much as Free Willy did. Well, it seems people need to learn more about the drugs they're taking before taking them. The latest newsworthy example of someone acting up on an airplane from suspected pill popping came on a British Airways flight from California to London. BBC News is reporting a 41-year-old flight attendant was found naked in one of the plane's bathrooms, and a drug test later found he was high on both methamphetamine and amphetamines. Other flight attendants had to cover his duties. He was fired, taken to a hospital after they landed, and charged. He pleaded guilty in England. Folks from the Guinness Book of World Records had their hands full at this summer's La Discada 2025 festival in Guadalupe, Nuevo León in Mexico. They just announced Friday that the festival in late June broke 3 of their records. One for the 13,215 tacos served in 60 minutes, adding up to the most tacos served in an hour. Yeah, there's a record for that. While the UPI is also reporting the other 2 records were for the largest stir fry and the largest stir-fry pan, which had a 23-foot diameter. 100 culinary students used it to stir up the traditional La Discada dish the festival is named after, made of sausage, beef, pork, bacon, so more pork, tomatoes, peppers, onions, and beer. Sign me up. I'm going to Mexico next summer. Back in a moment while I get my tickets.
My mind. Sip and act. Spelled forwards or backwards, Sibonac's fast-acting tetrahydrocannabinol is an all-natural active ingredient that will dull all held-in frustrations over his shortcomings and allow for peaceful nights.
I'll bet your ex is still up. Why don't you call him?
Even if your loved one is being extra, ask your doctor about Sibonac. Side effects include munchies, forgetfulness, dry mouth, and sudden urges to search the house for long-lost items. More serious effects include hairstyle and wardrobe changes, unemployed friends sleeping over and settling for substandard men. Users have experienced weight gain, depression as a result, and a loss of long hair after an impromptu trip to the beautician. Ask your doctor about Sibonac. Or not.
What's up with what's going down, though?
A lot of us have been wary of putting money into cryptocurrency because it's hard to understand, and hackers have had a field day stealing people's bitcoins and some other crypto coins. And in South Korea, law enforcement were looking for this guy in his 60s because they say he scammed about 1,300 people out of a total of about 17.7 billion won, which comes out to about 13 million US dollars. And BBC News is reporting police in Seoul found him. They put out word last Friday and say they caught him because they say after 5 years on the run, he needed a smoke. Officers on patrol say they saw him toss a cigarette butt, so they were just going to give him a ticket for that. But say the dude started begging to let him go just this once and say he tried to walk off, refused to show his ID, tried to pay officers to let him go, and at one point pretended to take a phone call. So they got a little suspicious after all that extraness, and once they eventually got his ID, his arrest warrant popped up, so they saw why he was acting funny. All to say, smoking cigarettes is bad for our health and wallets, but tossing a butt after a smoke can get one's butt tossed into a jail cell, especially if that cigarette doesn't calm them down and act cool when cops stop them.
This is Mike Mann with more comedy gold right here, right now, from Slammy Sammy.
Keep doing what you're doing, 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 keep doing what you're doing. Why? I said, now what's going on back here? What kick this dough in? She said, keep doing what you're doing, what you're doing.
That does it for another Real Pod newscast. Thanks as always for checking out the show, and hey, hope you're enjoying it. But let me know if you're not, or if you are. I'd love to hear any suggestions, critiques, comments. Hit me up on the show's Facebook page or email Levon at realpodnewscast.com, real with 2 E's. And the email's at the bottom of the show's website, realpodnewscast.com. And Marty will repeat it in a few seconds. Have a great rest of the week. Back on Friday.
This has been the Real Pod Newscast with Levon Putney from Show Enough Productions. And for more, hit up the website, realpodnewscast.com. That's real with 2 E's. This is Big Daddy Marty Allen. Thanks for listening.
Serial butt sniffer must have gotten out on probation in Southern California. He's been caught outside sniffing booties again. NBC4. Show enough.